This is a rhythm lesson on counting eighth notes. And follow lesson for free. I'm going to give all the relevant information at the beginning of the lesson. I'll also be showing you a notation example as well, but I will be using other examples from my Volume 2 method book. At the end of the book, there's 60 rhythm exercises to practice on open strings. And today we'll be covering number 13 to 19, and I'll give you number 13 for free in the video. So we can have that discussion. So there's a link for that book in the description if you're interested in taking a look. So make sure you've covered the previous lessons. If you go to the link to the book, you can see all the rhythm lessons. We've already covered these time signatures and counting quarter notes and half notes and whatnot. So just make sure you've done that. And then in later videos, I will be covering more complicated eighth note patterns like offbeat eighth notes and things like that. So there's 3 ways that we can count eighth notes. And each one has its benefits, but there's definitely one that I would emphasize the most in your practice. So if we look at number 13 here, we can see that we have a series of quarter notes, half notes, and eighth notes in the example, and a whole note as well. And so there's a couple of different ways that we can count this. The best way to count it, and the way that I recommend that you work on the most, is by just counting the time signature out. So here we're in 4/4 time, so there's 4 beats per bar. So if I played this example while counting, this is the way I'd recommend that you count most of the time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a really great way to count because that's the time signature. Now, I'm not counting the individual eighth notes, I'm just counting the beats and playing whatever rhythms are necessary. That's really important because the feel of the music is probably more at the time signature. So you want to feel the time signature and count the time signature and then just play whatever rhythms come up in your music. So let's try subdividing the beat now, and what I'll do is I'll count all the eighth notes, which this is a really great way to practice accuracy in your rhythm, but we'll have a discussion afterwards as to the reasons why you might not want to do it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that way is very, very accurate. It very much allows you to exactly place the eighth notes exactly within their beat because you're saying the eighth note beat out loud. However, saying all those beats, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, feels like that. Feels like you're hitting every single eighth note beat so strong. So it's kind of overcomplicating the feel of the rhythm. The feel should just be 1, 2, 3, 4. It should feel nice and calm like that, right? As opposed to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's a lot of beats. So emphasizing just the time signature is a more natural way of counting. So the way we just went over, counting each eighth note, is very helpful for accuracy. And you can do that, but don't do it for more than 10% of the time. You know, the majority of the time, you should just count the time signature like the first example that we did. So the third way is that you could count the individual rhythms. And I don't usually have students even do this, but it is a way to do it. So in this example, it would be 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason I don't do it that way usually is that I find students will mix up their tempo of the beat, the rate at which the beat goes by, because they're counting in different ways and there's no consistency in the way that they're counting. So when I teach rhythms to students, 90% of the time, I recommend that they, count just the time signature. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just feel the time signature and just play whatever rhythm is needed at the time, right? So that they learn a natural way of feeling rhythm and then just executing whatever rhythm comes up. 10% of the time, for accuracy reasons, we can subdivide the beat and go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and just for practice. It's good for students to practice in a variety of ways, but not so much that they get stuck in a habit that might make their music sound overly complicated. So those are the 3 ways I'd recommend counting eighth notes. And regardless of when, we'll go through a couple of examples now, and regardless if the time signature changes, you just count the time signature and play the rhythms, as always. So let's go through now. If for those who own the book, you can follow along with your book. For those who don't, you can check out the link in the description. But I think that gives you an idea of how I approach counting eighth notes. As I go through all the exercises, I'll just be counting one measure for nothing at the beginning. So I'll just count a full measure and then begin the exercise. And I'm just going to count the time signature each time because I think that's the most beneficial way to do it. So we've already covered number 13, so let's go on to number 14. 1 bar for nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, number 15. Number 15 is the same rhythm as number 14, except the beaming is different in this example. Instead of beaming, half note groups together, we're beaming them just in quarter notes. So it looks different, but it's exactly the same rhythms. And, depending on the notation style that the editor has chosen, there could be, reasons for this. Maybe they're trying to make the quarter notes very clear visually, or they want the quarter notes more emphasized individually. There could be a variety of reasons why we would beam things differently. But I'll do number 15 anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 16, here we have 3/4 time, so 3 beats per bar. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Number 17, also in 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Number 18 in 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 19 is in 2/4 time. So we haven't covered 2/4 time signatures yet, but it's pretty straightforward. There's 2 quarter note beats per measure. So again, the top note tells you how many beats per bar, 2, and the bottom number tells you the value of the beat, So quarter notes. There's 2 quarter notes per measure. And the rhythmic hierarchy of this time signature is very simple. It's just strong, weak. So like 1, 2, 1, 2, strong, weak, strong, weak. Number 19. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1,